Hi, this is Mr. G again, back with another episode of The Emerging Composer. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about uh, one of my solutions that I use when I'm composing music. One of the blessings being a composer for hire is that you get hired by all kinds of different people who want all different kinds of things. I was uh, hired to write some background music for a play that was being performed in the metro Atlanta area. The music was not to interfere with the text or with the spoken lines. It was supposed to frame each scene, so it was a really big challenge, and I learned an awful lot working in that project. One of the biggest lessons I learned, though, was what to do when you're faced with something that you've never done before. The last scene of this play was a scene where four elderly women were sitting on the porch of an old farmhouse, reminiscing about their adventures. And it was an old farm. There were apple trees in the orchard outside. You could you could hear the crickets chirping. You know, typical idyllic summer day out in the country. And up until this point, everything I'd sent to this director, she just loved and accepted. I sent her a piece of music to frame this last scene. She immediately got back to me and said, "No, this is not it." So I did something else totally different. She said, "No, that's not it." And then I had one of those moments where, I'm sure this has happened to a lot of us, where you accidentally say something that's really, really smart, or you accidentally stumble upon a solution that you just never thought you would come up with. Well, this is one of those moments. I asked her, send me a list of words that describe this last scene. Single words, a list of single words that describe this last scene. And I had accidentally stumbled upon her love language, if you will. She's a director. She's also a screenwriter, playwright. She is a wordsmith. So when I asked her for a list of single words, said, don't give me a narrative, just give me single words to describe the scene. She sent me a list of words that described that scene. And I'm going through these words. I'm hearing calm, idyllic, spring, quiet. And then there was a word on that list that said pastoral. And that rung with me. And I don't know why I focused on that word, but I did. Because in my listening in the past, I had listened to a lot of pastoral music. But I couldn't put my finger on it what pastoral music was all about. So what I did is I took the next couple of days and I went out and found a bunch of pastoral compositions. One of the most famous ones for me comes out of Handel's Messiah, and it's called the Pastoral Symphony. Now, I'm going to let you listen to it for a minute or two, and then I'm going to have you listen to another piece that I listened to, and then we're going to talk about what it was that I could draw out of these compositions that I could use in my situation. Here's the opening part to Handel's The Pastoral Symphony. The Pastoral Symphony. Wasn't that beautiful? Now, before I make any more comments about that piece of music, let's go and listen to this. I found this on YouTube. It's called The Banks of Green Willow by George Butterworth, an English composer. Let's listen to what this sounds like. There you go. The banks of Green Willow. Now, I listened to a lot more than this. I spent 2 days just listening to pastoral music. And I did a couple things. One, I'd listened. I would just sit down, put my headphones on, not be distracted by reading a book or looking at any multimedia things, none of this Facebook or YouTube or anything. And I would just listen to the music. And I wouldn't listen to it with a critical ear. I just soaked it up. Just listened. And what I was listening for was just the sense of peace that this music would bring to me when I listened to it. And then I began analyzing why it was that I felt that way when listening to this music. And that's when I started getting into the more technical aspects. I went out and found the score for the Pastoral Symphony from Handel. I found a score on this pastoral piece of music from Butterworth. And then I would listen to it again following the score. And I began to notice something really, really, really interesting. It was almost dissonance-free. I, being a modern composer and a modern musician, I love dissonance because dissonance is tension. And it's in the release of tension that powerful moments in music take place. But there was very little tension in these things. So that was point number one. Pastoral, very little tension. Now, how do you achieve that? Well, you can only really achieve that if you only use triads, 3-note chords. You don't add color tones. And I call a color tone anything that isn't a 1, 3, or 5 of a chord. So a C chord will just be C, E, and G. Now, there's passing tones as a melody passes through from one note to the next. But nobody lands on a color tone and stays there. There's no tension, or as little tension as possible. So I began to notice that there's very, very, very little tension, and that there's very little color tones, and the notes are long. It's not hurried. It's very relaxing. Then, knowing that, I went out to write the pastoral piece that we use on this play. Now, we're going to have a listen with that. Hang on one second. Well, there you have it. What I took away from that experience was one, first of all, when you're talking to a client, try to communicate with them. Find a way, a common point that they can communicate with you. Many of your clients aren't musicians, so they don't understand intuitively what you or I might understand about music. Thankfully, I figured out during this whole process with this director that she was a very talented director, but she was very dependent upon my talents as a musician and a composer. But my talents as a musician and composer don't do her any good if I can't understand what she wants. So it has now become common practice for me to ask a client if they want a piece of music to give me a list of single words that describe what they want. I write music for a local dance company, a school. Every year we have a spring recital, and I compose all the music for it. And every year I get with the director. Now she knows me now. I don't even have to ask her anymore. She'll say, we're getting ready for the spring recital. Here's the theme. And then she will go through each class, what each class is going to be dancing. And then she'll just give me a small list of words to describe what she wants in each one of those dances. So I've learned that. Ask for single words. Don't ask for a narrative. Ask for single words from your client to get them to nail down what it is they expect from you. That was cool. That was a great lesson for me. The second thing is that I think the biggest tool in my toolbox isn't my ability to harmonize, isn't my ability to orchestrate. The biggest tool in my toolbox is listening. There's been a million pieces of music written over the centuries. There is something out there that's like what you want to do. So when you listen, you don't listen to copy what they're doing. You're not going to copy what another composer's done, but you're going to find music that resonates with you, and then you are going to sit down and analyze it and be able to put down on a piece of paper why it is you like what you're hearing. For me, the pastoral music was simple. Triadic harmony, very simple, lush, gorgeous chords, very little tension. Tension does not introduce a pastoral scene in your mind. I think I've told this story before, but I had a professor, Diane Mosher, at Vermont College of Fine Arts. She had a very long talk with me one day because I was trying to write a Palestrina-like composition and was really struggling. And she says, "Stop trying to be Palestrina." She said, "What is it about Palestrina's music that's got you all in a wad?" And I started explaining to her what it was about his music that I loved. She said, "Okay, those are principles. You want to write like Palestrina? Okay, I get it, but you're not going to be Palestrina. Find out what it is about his music that you like." And I told her stuff like, it's so lush, it's so full, it's meditative. She says, "What does that mean, meditative?" She made me drill down almost to note-specific things. And it was amazing because I walked out of that discussion realizing why I liked Palestrina. Now, I don't have to copy him, but I know what it is about his music that rings in my heart, and I can take those principles and apply it to the music I'm writing. I'm not writing Palestrina's music. I'm writing Page's music. But I'm using principles that I've picked up from this incredible composer. When I wrote my pastoral piece for that play, I analyzed what it was about Handel's Pastoral Symphony that I love so much. And I took those principles and applied it to my music that I was writing for that director. So there you have it. Just a thought or two on a glimpse into my process, what I do when I'm hired by somebody to do something that I've never done before. This is Mr. G out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.